Welcome back, everybody, to Two Guys and a Stack of Comics. My name is Reed. Along with me, as always, is Mike. Mike, how you doing, sir?
Hey Reed, how's it going?
Doing good, man. We're going to talk about one of our favorite days of the year. A little delayed this year. We had some stuff going on, but we're going to talk about Free Comic Book Day a little bit. And we're going to take this from a little bit different angle. Instead of kind of covering what happened on Free Comic Book Day, Mike and I are going to talk about how Free Comic Book Day is the perfect illustration of how the indies know what they're doing right now. And the big two seem to be very, very clueless as to what they're doing. Mike, that was the main takeaway that I had from it. Would you kind of agree? Is that what stood out to you from the couple of offerings you were able to pick up?
I would agree. I got I read most of this, and
Hmm.
you know, for a guy who really wants to get back into DC Comics, I was like, Amanda Waller and the Suicide Squad, and I was like, I don't know what's going on. So
Yeah, there's so much deep dive into this, and so I think one of the things we can talk about at the top is I think one of the things of Free Comic Book Day, and I have to say this was my experience going this year, and I know Mike, you've had a lot of experiences with this. One of the things that's interesting with Free Comic Day, it's always on a Saturday. And then typically these comic shops that don't normally have a ton of business coming through the doors are normally packed. I know at the two shops that I go to here locally in San Antonio, at the one shop that I go to normally for my comic books, Alien Worlds, that book, there was a line to get in the door, right? So I mean, 10 a.m. Saturday morning, a line to get into a comic shop. So you're clearly getting a lot of crowds to show there. The other shop they go to, one that me and you talk about a lot, Dragon's Lair, same deal. Line kind of wrapped around. Lots of people, lots of folks who are coming in to pick up their free comics. So if you want to talk about a great marketing event, where if you're a company, you can put your best foot forward, you can showcase, hey, here's what you're missing. You're getting new readers in the door, a chance to kind of give them something that will get them to come back. We're going to look a little bit why we think the indies do this right and why the big two kind of struggle. And Mike mentioned a little bit of this. So I think we'll talk a little bit because we like being positive, the ones that did it right. So Mike, you and I both were very, very excited about Flash Gordon.
ah,
Jeremy Adams, one of our favorite comic book writers.
it was
Great run on Flash.
awesome.
Great run on Green Lantern that he's doing right now. And the cool thing with this is a new series you're doing for Mad Cave. If you picked this up, this is a 22-page story from the main artist and the main writer. It serves as a first issue almost of the comic. And so the thing is, there's so much world building that's done. There's pretty good art throughout. It introduces our story, it introduces our heroes, lets you know where we are in the world. And then the other part that's great is if you finish this book, you get an exact schedule, a date that the book's going
I
to
love that.
continue this.
I
It goes
love
to the
that.
release of all the multiple books they're going to have. There is advertisements for other Flash Gordon stuff, so another comic that they're launching as a mini series,
You
along
know
with
what I thought
years
was
that have
really
come out.
cool is on the fourth, wait, one, two, three, four, the fifth column over,
Hmm.
they said they're going to have a compendium release of all of the the
The Sunday
classic
strips.
Alex Raymond Sunday strips. And I thought that was really cool. The concept art in the
Yeah,
back.
even concept art. So one of the things you see,
Um,
this is
for
a
a free
company.
comic book day issue, this was amazing.
No, it's what last year Conan very much did the same thing. 20-page story, let you know it was going to continue. Same artist and writer. Again, if you liked this, you know exactly when you need to go back. You know exactly where you need to order from. If you thought the character was cool, there's an advertisement for figures for the character. And the great thing about this is not to be continued in 16 different series that you need to pick up that immediately scare you. Instead, it is one series from the same creative team that will launch. Another company that did very well. Shocker, me and Mike both loved what the Conan book from Titan did.
I know. They even put three staples in the
Even
free comic book day
even
version.
in their free comic book day one, you get a intro page to set the thing of where you are, what's going on. You get a map that goes through the story that's been there thus far. I believe
Uh,
you get a 12-page story, so not a huge story, but nonetheless,
and the
larger
artwork is so
story
good. Look at the artwork.
with quality art. And then they tell you again to be continued in one book that will happen this fall. You also get a letters page in the back that goes
Oh,
through, talks about all these characters by Jeffrey Shanks, goes through all the history of the characters, where they're going to play a role in this. And then you get some ads at the end with some concept art
and
of
the
the
sneak
book that will
preview.
be out
Yes,
next.
exactly.
Again, if you liked this, you go to the store, you read it, you know exactly where to go. I'll even say Dynamite Comics. Johnny Quest is a book that they are launching. This is essentially serves as the first issue of Johnny Quest. You get a 10-page story with the main creative team. It tells you to be continued, gives you the issue, gives you the date, gives you some continued in July and #1 concept art, all that. Dynamite also looked at this as an opportunity to give a 6-page preview of Thundercats with an interview from the creative team talking about why they love the characters and where you
I
can
know you
find
love
graphic
those
novels.
Thundercats.
Space Ghost, same thing. Again, very easy, very simple, one-stop shop to get this. If you like this, come back, buy one book. Then we look at the big two. And this is where
I
the
don't
big
know what's
two
going on with these two, Reed. I mean,
infuriate me.
I
And this,
read part of the Spider-Man. I'm like,
yep.
this doesn't match with the Ultimate Spider-Man I'm reading.
Yeah. So
So
the big thing with the big two,
I don't know what's going on.
if you pick this up, now, if you, I would imagine, given the run on comics, that Ultimate Spider Man is the one comic you would probably want to showcase on Free Comic Day, because that's been your huge hit. This might get more people to come in. And so if you go buy this, it says Spider Man and Ultimate Universe on the cover. Now, if you are, and it does not say Amazing Spider Man, Spider Man and Ultimate Universe. So the big thing is for most folks who are not your normal book buyers, your Wednesday warriors, you're talking people coming to the shop who might be this is their only trip of the year. This is your one shot to grab them. Do we have the same universe even in this comic book? No. We get a 8-page story that ties into the Amazing Spider-Man, and it just does to be continued, not telling you which issue or where to go or anything like that, unless you go to the overly long back page that features 18 different books that you might need to buy to know what's going on. The other part that's in here, and it's not even listed as the A story, is it's the Ultimates relaunch. So it does give you about 8 or 9 pages. But again, there's no setup page to tell you what's going on in the Ultimates. If you're not a comic book fan, you're going to pick this up and you're going to wonder, why the heck are Iron Man, Captain America, and Doctor Doom a superhero team called the Ultimates now? There's
You
no
don't know.
explanation as to why. And again, for your Wednesday warriors, for your people who have been following this, I am sure that this is a great treat. But if you're a person who doesn't pick up comics, you get half of a setup of a Spider-Man, half of a setup of the Ultimates, and then the last 3 or 4 pages is a 4-page Venom story that just drops you in. Doesn't so if you like Venom and you're a normie, you're gonna pick this up and go, "Who the heck is Dylan Brock? Why is Eddie not Venom? What is going on?" There's no setup. There's no page that gets it, and you just get Venom War is coming. Not to be continued in the pages of Venom, just Venom War. It's coming. Not sure when, it's coming. Okay. And again, if you want to find out any details, hey, look at our 2-page, 18 comic book spread to get you. If you're a new buyer, I imagine you're going to read this and go, yeah, no thanks, man. This is exactly why I don't buy. 18 different advertisements for 18 different books, and I get no setup of why I should be invested in these.
It's like they're trying desperately to re-hook people who have lost the hook. So I think you're absolutely right. Like if you were the big two, if you were to just put out one, book, maybe 3 books, one for each of the main characters, and introduce them to a brand new storyline that could make sense,
Mm-hmm.
then, for your average, like you said, Free Comic Book Day brings people from all stripes of the tertiary comic fandom,
Yep.
right? They come into the store, and a lot of times it's mom and pop with smaller kids who are love superheroes, and you want to get, and they love Spider-Man, right?
Yep.
We all know how much they love Spider-Man. Let's give them a Spider-Man story.
No, can you
That,
imagine if the launch point for Free Comic Book Day would have been a 20-page issue of Ultimate Spider-Man? Like,
man,
and then
you
you
would
could
have
have hooked
hooked
people.
so many more Spidey fans.
Well, and then the simplicity of, hey, it's going to be continued in Ultimate Spider-Man #5, right? Or something like that. Like, oh, real easy for me to go pick up. Instead, let's
I
drop
don't know what's
you in
going
and
on in this.
you
Reed,
can continue with this with the oversized, amazing Spider-Man 50 that's in middle of an arc, and it'll be out in 1 to 2 months if you remember to come back to the comic store. Same thing. Now you kind of mentioned something that I thought was interesting. What if they just released one comic book, right? So I thought what Marvel was doing, and I saw this coming. Marvel's doing a large event called Blood Hunt. It's going to have like 55 tie-ins. But Blood Hunt's their big event, and Blood Hunt 1 was a free comic book day. Like, great, this will be awesome. Now, this week, I got it recommended to me, so I picked up the first issue of this event series. There's a lot of major twists and turns that take place, deaths of major characters, huge things that happen
wow.
in an amazing way to capture people. And that, like, there's for spoilers for that event, but on the last page of the thing, you see Blade kill Doctor Strange.
Wow.
Imagine that most people would have read that and went, holy cow, I need to know what the heck is happening. Man, I want to pick that up. Instead, you get 8 pages of setup that leave you no explanation of why this is happening. It's not the art team from the actual event. And it basically just has cameos of like Daredevil, Spider Man, and Dracula. Like, if you want to know what's going on, pick up Blood Hunt. Why would you, in the same week where you're releasing this major event thing, not just have it as part of Free Comic Book Day?
Yeah, I think with all the spreading around of the tie-ins and the universes and how everything's gotten so complicated to the point where they're thinking of, launching something brand new like the Ultimate Universe. I think you would really want to grab these potential new customers with a concise book that gives them a little meat and not just lead them into oblivion, because I have no idea what's going on here. And I'm tiptoeing my way back into the Marvel universe.
No, you're
I'm
you're a
reading
guy who
Black
got yourself
Panther.
in with the Ultimate Universe,
I'm
and
reading Black Panther. I put that on my sub list. The first time I've ever had, multiple Marvels on my pull list. And then the DC put this out, and I have no idea what's going on here. And I'm a DC
yep.
fan.
So this is
I've
our
got like
worst
some
offender.
robot Batman who's being controlled by the Clock King. I don't know.
So here's our worst offender, and this is DC. And this breaks my heart.
I know,
So
right?
one,
Because we're
in
hardcore DC fans.
in this, and I read most DC comics. So in this book, you get 10 pages of story and then 15 pages of ads.
There's
Again,
so many, and then at the very end, there's a little bit of Superman being
and then
led
there's a
away.
3-page preview of the comic they're trying to sell you.
I was like, you lost me.
Split in between 15 pages of ads. Then the other part with this. These characters on this cover. Now, I know who this is in the middle. This is Failsafe, who has been a villain of the Batman comic books. It is essentially a robot that was created by Batman if he ever was corrupted to take him down, that has now
The
been
Clock
possessed
King's
by Zurin R, the personality that Batman has in his brain as a backup. So you have Batman's backup personality inside of a robot, which has been explained over about 25 to 30 issues. If
okay.
you pick this up and you see this first page as a person who's not reading comics, you have no idea who the
I
heck.
had no idea.
And like, you even keep up with DC, Mike. You don't.
Yeah, I don't know
I
what's
read
going
the
on.
majority of the comics. What the heck is Green Arrow doing working for the Suicide Squad? Don't
Yeah.
know. Better go read 12 issues of Green Arrow to go figure that out. At the end, I guess this is a decent teaser that might make people go, how did they enslave the Justice League? But then again, is it real simple? Like, hey, it's continued in this. No, it's continued in the House of Brainiac event. So, not the name that's on the top of the cover. And then also, here's your House of Brainiac list of 14 comics that you need to buy to keep up with the event. It's also a 6-part thing inside the issues of Superman and Action Comics. And then here's our biography pages that pitch you 10 other comics that you need to know what's going on with Amanda Waller and Failsafe and all these other characters. Also,
Literally,
if you want the full context of what's going on, go back and read these 5 different events that have taken place. This
literally
the
and figuratively, I'm not buying it. And
one and
so
the biggest thing that makes me mad, I am a person who's gonna probably end up buying this event. This was a horrible preview for him. What sucks is it's competently written, it's competently drawn, but the biggest problem is it's nothing against the creative teams. It's the marketing strategy. If I'm a new buyer to this book, like if I handed this to my kid and was like, here's free comic book DC, he's gonna have 50 questions, and by the time I get halfway through explaining Batman's backup personality that lives inside of a robot, he's gonna be like, I'm good, man. I'm good. I
that's
don't need to
exactly
read
what
all
I
that.
said.
And that's the big problem with this too. You know who's on the cover of this? Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. You know who doesn't appear in this story except for when they're in chains in a future vision? Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman.
Yeah.
This would have been a great way to relaunch. Hey, and this is crazy. Action Comics literally just launched an initiative to hire superstar writers to get on the title. Wouldn't it have been a great way for Free Comic Book Day to have a 25-page Superman story with a great creative team? To go like, hey, you haven't read Superman in a while. Here's a classic Superman tale.
I
Instead,
think the
they
I
just
think
bungled.
the issue is they're trying to do too much with
Well,
less.
they're
Like if
trying.
you were going to have this as a side book about this Brainiac event, I
Yeah,
get it, but give me some classic Batman, some classic Superman, some classic Wonder Woman. You know, you just, I don't know how much it costs them to put out these. I'm sure it's a lot, but like you said, this was your one chance
you're gonna
to,
get hundreds of people.
yes.
Like I would say in San Antonio at the two shops I go to, there was at least 100 people at both stores that normally would never go into those
And
doors.
that wasn't even the biggest store in town.
Yeah, and those are two of probably like we have about 5 or 6 huge ones here. That's probably the sixth biggest store and the fourth biggest store.
Yeah.
And so I that's at smaller stores, you get hundreds of potential customers. And the thing is, what's interesting is like I'm imagining if you like Flash Gordon and you pick this up, you know exactly where to go, and this is going to help benefit Mad Cave a whole lot. For DC
Yeah.
and Marvel, I think most people are going to have the same reaction that my son did when I got him these free comic book day things. I don't know what the heck's going on. I don't really care. I don't really know him. Throws him in a pile, and he's never going to think about him again.
And that breaks my heart, especially for my son Jackson, who is an ultimate Spider-Man fan. He's going to read that and just go, whatever, Dad.
Well, and like one that I'm not even interested in was interesting. I took my son. IDW. I don't like IDW, but IDW did an 8-page little Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles thing. My kid read this and he's like, "Wow, it's pretty cool." They advertised one thing. He comes like, "Hey, when's that one coming out? Can you pick that one up for me?" Why? Because it was one story advertised with one creative team, letting you know there's one series with one issue that's coming out. And he's like, "That was a pretty good 8 or 10 pages. I'd really like to read the next part of that."
There you
What
go.
happens when you simplify it? And I'm glad he wants to read a comic book. But the whole thing is, all these indies seem to get it. We need to earn your business. We need to, if you come for free comic book day, we're going to earn you with a 20-page story or a 10-page story that gives you setup and lets you know what's going on with explanation pages and letters pages, letting you know about the story, how you can catch up, where it's at, what the context is. DC and Marvel are like, hey, do you want to buy 75 other comic books and spend $480 so you can get the plot of your free comic book day? It doesn't make a lot of sense, and it just kills me because there were so many people that were coming into the store that don't normally come in, and they're going to pick that book up, and it's like even if you gave me 10 minutes to talk to each of them to explain the plot, they're going to be like, no, man,
Yeah, I'm good.
I'm good. I'm just going to go pick up the free other ones, and I'll see you guys next.
So I think the lesson learned here is simplify. Don't be afraid to give away a good meaty story that'll lead them to buy the next issue.
Yep.
Don't take them for granted that they know what's going on and drop them in the middle of some huge convoluted plot. They're not going to
Yeah.
know, they're not going to want to know, and they're not going to come back. because they know it's too confusing.
What if you
Just give
are
them
at least give them quality? I thought I was so disappointed with Marvel with that Blood Hunt comic book, and then I thought the first issue was actually good, and I thought, man, that's a brilliant play. If they and then instead you get no context, you don't get the real creative team. You're largely just dropped into setup, and it's I think the best example of this. Me and you both talked about this. We're both in on this Flash Gordon thing now. Like
it's
this,
gonna
I
be
added
good.
this to my sub. I'm ready to go. Picking up the first issue. I know what's going on. The other ones, largely, if I wasn't buying them already, I'm not picking them up. So hopefully this can be a learning lesson for DC or Marvel. Not that they're going to listen to a small channel like ours, but I really, really, it's just the big two, man. I try so hard not to be an indies guy because they have
Yeah,
my favorite characters and I love the big two. They just seem to bungle every opportunity that they get. Let us know
I
what you
know.
think below. Mike, you have something else?
No, I was just saying, yeah, just it'd been so cool to get like the introduction to some new Batman story because I'm kind of like tiptoeing my way into Batman.
Oh, can you imagine if Batman First Night #1 had been the free comic book day offering?
Yeah.
Like how many people that would have, interested. Um, just sad to see. Let us know what you guys think below. What did you think of Free Comic Book Day? Which one stood out to you? Do we have this whole thing wrong? Did the big two comics do anything for you guys as far as getting you interested? We are always interested in seeing your thoughts below. As always, thank you for watching. And if you do want to pick up some of these stuff, definitely go to your local comic book shop, see if they have some of these left. They normally have some in there. Would really, really highly recommend the Flash Gordon one if they have stuff left.
And the Conan one.
Issue and the Conan as well, the Battle for Blackstone. Two really good offerings. As always, we appreciate you watching. We will catch you in our next video.
Thanks, everybody.